Hey, what is up guys, Rice again. So this video is going to be part 2 for the Valhalla Blade series. I think this is the last part before I show you the final product video, so yes, enjoy it while it lasts. So yeah, this was following on from basically the last part I posted, in which I explained the general concept for the blade. So this was the revised version I modeled. Now this is just a rough model just so that I could test the actual design itself, and I am going to show you this in person, and I'm going to explain why it didn't work, or at least why I'm not going to use it for the Valhalla Blade, and then I'm going to show you the new design that I came up with, which builds off of one of my oldest designs from many years ago. So yes, this is the blade. Obviously this slides within the base piece here. There's a pretty simple track just on the bottom there, and then you have your little spring-loaded component there, which, as we talked about in the last video, gets compressed by a lever arm, which I haven't got here, and shoots the blade in and out every time the lever seesaws up and down, essentially. So yeah, I'm going to show you this in person. It's easier for me to explain why this didn't work, or why I didn't use it for my final version. And then I'll show you some really cool stuff for the mechanism for the final one. So yeah, let's jump right into it.
Okay guys, so this was the prototype that I made on the computer. So obviously in part 1 of the Valhalla Blade, I showed you the rough concept mechanism on the computer in the CAD software, but like I said, I was going to change it a little bit for my own design. So just to test the mechanism, because obviously there's no point in me making a nice pretty design if the actual mechanism itself won't work. I just made this. Obviously it looks pretty ugly, but that's obviously why I didn't want to spend my time making it look like the one from the game if the actual mechanism wouldn't work, because then it would be pointless. So I just threw together this quick little prototype to see if the actual system would work. Now, if you are watching this video, then I know you were interested in that mechanism that I showed, and I'm not giving up on the mechanism. I still want to make a hidden blade that uses it. I just know that with Valhalla creeping up on us at the moment and a bunch of other projects that I still want to make, I don't want to spend too much time on making this design work, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff I'd have to do to essentially get it to work really well. But I'm not giving up on it. I will come back to it, but I went with a different design that I came up with, and it's kind of a fusion of one of my designs from 6 years ago with a newer switch mechanism, but we'll get onto that in a bit. So yeah, obviously, as you know, there was supposed to be 2 bits that go like this, and that's what propels the blade in and out. So essentially what you have is a spring like this with I'm just going to call this a pusher or a block, I don't know what to call it, but yeah, and this fits into a channel within the back of the blade, and you can see on the back of the blade we have 2 bearings, one here and one there, and that is just so that it slides really smoothly when it is pressed against the wall on the inside of the base piece. So what happens is this goes in like so. Pop that in there, like that, cool, and then we would put this in here. So obviously I did away with the 2 arms, and instead I went with a single arm, and the reason I did that was because if you have 2, you're going to have a really wide point at the front and then a really wide point at the back when they retract the blade. So if you do 1, then the angle that it needs to extend and retract the blade isn't as affected by the base piece, because you don't really have as much limitation in terms of how far out the pieces can go. Because if there's 1, you can achieve a greater angle, whereas if there's 2, they still have to fit within the base piece, and they won't be able to get a steep enough angle to actually push and pull the blade back in. So yeah, you can see why I had that issue. This was the original one, and it had a pivoting piece like this, which would screw into there. And what would happen is you would see how it's like a seesaw there, and that would push it in and out. Now if I had two of these, it wouldn't be able to get anywhere near a good enough angle to actually cause enough compression on the spring to shoot the blade out. So that's why I went with a single one, and I made it wider as well, and that way you can get a greater degree of flexion on the pivot arm there. So yeah, so what would happen is the blade would be in like this. I'm just going to use the base piece to resemble what would be the pivoting tab, like that. Okay, so you can see that's obviously under spring tension right there. What would happen is it would push in like this, and then that would shoot the blade out. Obviously, because this isn't mounted to an axis, it's just rotating freely, but it would come out like this, and then obviously we'd have some locking mechanism there, and then it would push in and launch the blade back into the retracted position. So there we go, and then when it comes out, it would shoot the blade back in. Now I definitely think this would work with a bit more prototyping, like I said, but yeah, obviously I don't want to spend the time trying to make this work when I've already got a design that I know will work, and I am working on it. But yeah, I'm going to come back to this, and you know, it's probably going to be a pretty ugly blade because of how wide it's going to have to be so that you can get the correct, you know, angle to compress the spring. But I still think it'll be cool. I want to make challenging mechanisms and things like that. So yeah, I think it was pretty interesting, but that was going to be the original Valhalla Mechanism. So I will show you what the new one looks like, and we'll jump into that. But the main reason I think this wasn't working as smoothly is because the bearing, or the piece that gets compressed, is offset from the spring. You can see the spring's lower in there. I think that was causing too much twisting within the track, and that way the pressure is not applied directly to the we'll just call this the lever arm there. So if I can make the spring in line with the pin, then I think we would get a lot greater extension and retraction speed, because there's not that twisting going on within the track in the blade. Alright, let's jump onto my new design. Now, obviously you can see this looks exactly like the one from the game pretty much. It's really, really pretty. It's probably one of my nicest looking hidden blades that I've ever made before. Definitely probably the most game accurate one that I've done anyway. But yeah, this is the Valhalla Blade, and it has my new OTF mechanism in it, and I think it is the first ever hidden blade to use this type of OTF system, which is pretty cool. Now, before I go and unscrew this thing and take it apart, I just want to show you it working first. And also check this out, I went with a double ring. Obviously because this is on top of the hand, it's a little bit uncomfortable, so I went with a double ring system. And I think it looks pretty freaking sweet, like that. So you can see, blade comes out, you can hear how much power that has. Obviously it locks in place. I have stab tested this thing, and it is a beast. And then obviously when you pull the string, it comes straight back in. Now, if you have been following my Instagram page, which you should have, and if you're not, please go follow it. I'm posting stuff on there almost every day, so yeah, please go check that out. I also posted on my Instagram. Because of the constant tension system that I've seen on Valhalla Blades, and what I used on my original Valhalla Blade and my old Tanto Blade, it's comfortable for under the wrist. Like, constant tension systems like that is very comfortable for underneath the wrist, but on top of the wrist it's actually quite problematic. And I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you why I went with a two-way pull system like this and not, you know, a constant tension release system. Hey guys, so super quick, I just wanted to explain something a little bit better, because I feel like I kind of just brushed over that in terms of the difference between a constant tension trigger and a two-way trigger system. So here's my Instagram page. If you haven't followed it, please go follow it. I'm posting lots of really cool stuff on there, as you can see. So in this video I show you my original Valhalla Blade design, which uses the same mechanism as my modern Tanto Blade from 6 years ago. And they both use a constant tension trigger switch, and what that basically means is that as long as the string is pulled out, it is constantly under tension and the blade will be out, and as soon as the tension on the string is released, the blade will retract. So yeah, as long as you keep the string pulled, the blade will stay out, but as soon as you release the tension on the string, it will automatically retract, and I'll show you that in this video. Whereas a two-way trigger system
means that one pull of the string will cause the blade to extend. It is then in an idle locked position where the string is no longer under tension, and then you pull the string again and that will cause the blade to retract into the locked position as well. So yeah, here is the video of the constant tension trigger. So you can see I pull the string, the blade comes out, and as soon as I allow my wrist to go back to the neutral position, it will automatically retract, just like that. So you pull the string, comes out, let your wrist go back to neutral, which means the tension is now off the string, and it will automatically retract. Okay, so that is what a constant tension trigger switch is. And I'll explain to you why this is a bad thing in a second.
The reason for that is because you have the string running over the top of your hand, and unlike the skin at the bottom of your hand, which is very tough because we're always grabbing things, it's quite weathered. You can see I got a few calluses there. The skin on the top of our hand doesn't really get much wear and tear, for a lack of a better term. So you can see actually where I had the string running on the top of my hand, you can see I actually got a blister there, and it's now scabbed over. And that was because of the constant tension system. So I don't care what like hidden blade is on top of your arm, whether it's you know, gears, pulleys, OTF, whatever it is. If they use a constant tension system like this, where as soon as you relieve the tension on the string, the blade auto retracts, you are going to get wear and tear on your hand, and it's going to be quite uncomfortable for you. And it's just going to suck. So obviously you could solve that issue by wearing a leather glove or something like that to protect your skin, but it doesn't solve the second issue with constant tension systems like this, and I'll explain what the second issue is. If you are mounting the blade to the top of your hand and you have a constant tension where you have to keep your hand down in order to keep the blade out, it puts you at a compromised position. So you're pretty much like this in order to keep the blade in the extended position. So you'd have to be like that, right? And then as soon as you let go of the tension, the blade's going to come in. But I mean, if you think about it, this really is not practical, not to mention it's very uncomfortable because the wrist joint is not stacked. So what that means is we're in a flex state of the wrist, and now the joint is like broken essentially. It's not in line with your ulna and your radius, which are the two bones that run along your forearm there. And it's the same, using my PT knowledge for this, but it's the same on bench press. You never want to be benching with your wrists like this or like this, and that's because weight bearing and load bearing is not ideal and can be problematic on the wrist when the joint is not stacked like that. So it's going to be potentially dangerous. If you had to keep your wrist like this every time you're using the blade to stab something, if whatever you're stabbing slides down the blade, which you know very probably will, and hits your hand, all of a sudden you could be looking at a fractured wrist, you know, any kind of issue that's going to go on with the wrist, sprained wrist, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just dangerous, uncomfortable, and awkward. Who wants to be walking around like this when they're using their hidden blade? Not very cool. Also, it limits you because you can't move your hand past this range of motion here, because otherwise obviously the blade's going to retract or it's going to extend. So you have to always keep your wrist straight apart from when it's out, which it just sucks. It's not cool for anyone. So my two-way system completely solves that, because you can move your hand around and then not until you pull it down is the blade going to come out, and then you have freedom of movement again, and then when you pull it again it's going to retract. So completely solves that issue. I much prefer this design. You do not have constant tension on your skin because you can see the string's just slack now. It doesn't need to be pulled out, and that way you're not going to get blisters anywhere near as easily, and your wrist is not going to be compromised. So yeah. Alright, let's go and bust this thing open and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so this is my Valhalla Mechanism, as you can see there. Now this thing looks really cool. Like, it's probably one of the awesomest looking hidden blades that I've actually done. Not to mention one of the most mechanically sound ones as well. But yeah, as you can see, the blade sits on the top of the mechanism, so it is elevated from your skin. It's not going to risk any jams or anything like that. Now this is 100% mechanical and it's 100% spring based, so there is no elastics in here and there is no electronics, nothing, so this should basically always work. There shouldn't really be any need for repairs, that kind of thing. It's probably one of the most reliable blades out there, I believe, probably the most robust one as well. So what happens if we take the blade off, you can see there is a notch underneath, and that's obviously what runs within the track right there. Now, I have shown this on my Instagram, so if you haven't, please check it out. But yes, we have a lock tab in the back there, again uses a spring. Then we have one at the front that uses a spring there. Now, in my original one, this one here, I actually had two lock tabs. I had one there and one there, but I needed a channel to run the string for this new design, so I just went with one lock tab, but that seems to be more than enough. So we'll take these out and put them aside, and then we'll take this one out like that. Okay, so you can see this is what I was talking about. This is my own design for a switchblade, and I've had this for ages, and I finally get to use it on this Valhalla Blade, which is really exciting. So you can see, instead of an extension spring running down the center track, we have a compression spring at the front, and we have one at the rear as well. Now, obviously, you're going to be asking me, oh, why is that more beneficial than a extension spring down the middle? Okay, well, for two reasons. One, it allows me to mount the mechanical components, within the actual slider itself. Because there is nothing running down the center, I can actually put the mechanics inside the slider, which is right here, and that is why this thing is so incredibly thin. Look at it. Like, this is unreal. You can see even on my dual action blades, which are already quite thin, they just are nowhere near as thin as the Valhalla Blade, and that's because everything can be comfortably mounted within the slider piece. So that's one. It's going to allow you to have a thinner design and put your main components in the slider, so it's going to be thinner, it's going to look better. Yep, that's the main reason there. But the second reason is it actually allows the mechanism to have better durability, or like, you know, it's going to have better longevity in a sense, because these two springs are not constantly putting tension on the kickers. They're not constantly putting tension on the blade or the slider or anything like that. They are just at rest when the blade is in the idle position. So whether that's extended or retracted, they are just chilling. Whereas in OTF blades, as you know, the let me grab these here for a second. The kickers are constantly under tension. So you know, these are in the OTF blades, they are constantly being pulled together and they're constantly under spring tension. And what that means is, obviously, over time, wear and tear is going to happen. I've obviously tried to design these as durable as possible, but it's not going to completely negate the fact that they might eventually break, and that's just due to the constant stress that is on these things, and the constant stress that will be on your notches on your kickers. So yeah, with this, it completely solves that issue. This thing will probably never break because there is just no constant loading on the components. They are only under stress when the string is actually being pulled and not in the idle position at all. So yes, extremely, extremely reliable and extremely durable as well. Now, this uses my lever system, which you can see there is a lever piece that comes across the middle there underneath the slider. So what happens is, every time you pull that, it pushes the lever. You can see, just like that. And then as it comes forward, the switch goes over to the other side, and then the lever will pull the slider back and it will reset. Just like that, and just like that. So that's exactly how it works. It needs to have the blade in it for it to work properly, because it holds the slider in. But yeah, you get the idea. There's a lever that goes like this, spins every time you pull the string, and that pushes these back and forth in opposite directions. They auto reset, and as they auto reset, it will push the switch piece across and back and forth. So that's how it essentially pulls the slider in and out. Really, really cool. Definitely brand new, really, really awesome, and yeah, I'm really excited to see the hidden blades that I can make using this system. These are probably going to be some of the best OTF blades ever, so really, really cool, really, really exciting stuff. And yeah, if you want to see a better video of this functioning, check it out on my Instagram or Facebook page. I showed that on there. But yeah, guys, really, really awesome. I hope you like that. I'm going to call it the lever switch design, and it definitely auto resets by itself. There's no buttons, nothing, it's perfect. So yeah, really happy with this. So yeah, that is the mechanism. On another note, I also made a modern design for the Valhalla Blade, as you can see here. So really nice, really clean. Obviously this one is quite, excessive. Like, it's really pretty, don't get me wrong, but it's quite, in your face, really dramatic, not very discreet or stealthy. So I made my own version. You can see we got the RAWICE logo. It's got gold inlays in between the pieces, and yeah, it just looks really clean. So I made that one for the hidden blade as well. But yeah, I'm going to show you this thing fully in action on the final video. But for now, that's all you get to see. I just wanted to show you a little bit about it and tell you about why this mechanism is so awesome and why I'm so happy with it. But yeah, there's just a few minor changes I have to do to get it perfect, and then I will make the final video for it. So if you liked, guys, please like the video, subscribe, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. Take care.